Well, hey, y'all, welcome back into Fact Around and Find Out, the podcast with me, your host, Justin White. We're back with part 2 of Ruby Ridge. Part 1 was good. Part 2, it's a little darker, little more sad. Want to give a content warning here for this episode. If you are sensitive to violence and harm against children or animals, this might not be the episode for you. Also, we discuss white supremacy quite a bit, as we did some in the first episode, but it gets a little more intense on this one. So if that's something you're sensitive to, by all means, you're not going to hurt our feelings. Go check out Debit and Credit Cards or Nellie Jackson or one of the other episodes. And we'll be back next week with one that hopefully we don't have to have a content warning for. We just thought this was a topic that needed to be covered, hoping that in the social climate we're in right now, I think that it's important to address some of these issues to show that they're not new. This has been going on for a second, at least since 1992. There was no racism before that. On that note, we have got our first, I wouldn't call it hate mail, but we got our first firm critique from a listener who said that they thought that we sounded a bit racist or racially insensitive. I just want to go ahead and put it out there before we start this episode that we in no way here at the network, on the show, or either of us as hosts condone any sort of white supremacy. We are making fun of it. That's the point. When you hear us saying certain words or phrases, we're saying it as if those people were saying it themselves. We're just trying to find whatever levity we can in a horrible, horrible situation. And we, again, in no way support or condone any sort of bigotry, racism, or white supremacy here at Fact Around and Find Out. Well, with all that said, I hope that you guys enjoy the episode coming up. I'll be back at the end of the episode to tell you what we have coming up. So now, enjoy Ruby Ridge, Part 2. There was just outside of the studio a moment ago, there was a UPS truck making a delivery. It was a lady driver, and she pulled what I thought, what for me would have easily been a 12-point turn. It would have been very Austin Powers.
Okay,
It would have been that scene where it's just like, skid, skirt, skid, skirt, skid, skirt.
The first thing I thought about, yeah.
Yeah. I would have Austin Powers that turn. This bad woman, she got it in probably 3.
Yeah.
With cars around on a pretty narrow street here where we record. It was pretty impressive to me that she swung that big old vehicle around that easily.
She's become one with the big brown truck.
It was impressive to watch. Did it better than I could do it, and I'm a pretty good driver, but
yeah,
that's a large vehicle to swing around on a small street. Now it's not as large as an APC. It's
way to tie it in.
Personnel carrier.
Way to tie it into the episode here. I always thought that would be just a great job. Like, you're getting exercise, you're out and about, you're not in front of a computer.
Driving an APC or running driving UPS truck. I've always thought of driving a tank.
Yeah, driving
would be
an APC. Cool. Yeah. I've always wanted to do a raid on a compound. You know, that was the one thing I feel like I'm missing in my career right now as a project manager is I very rarely get to be involved in raids.
You were that kid that, like, as a boy, when they're asking you to list, like, what 3 things you might want to do as an adult. I thought about being a mailman.
A professional skater,
solid. Mine was I wanted to be a paleontologist or a stand-up comic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, or an IndyCar driver. I want to be an IndyCar driver.
Cool,
and then yours, you're like the loose cannon that comes out. I guess loose cannon is the best way to say that. You're the loose cannon that comes out, and you're like, I would like to drive an army tank.
Yeah, I want to drive an army tank. I want to be an inline skater, which definitely held up. That's the thing that's still very popular now.
Why not both?
Why?
You could just like cut some mean grinds all the way up to the top hatch. I guess it's called a hatch, and then just slide on in. You're gonna have to take your skates off.
Just jump right in.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take your skates off once you get inside. I don't know if there's pedals. I don't know that much about army tanks. I just know that some of them you drive with a T-bar. That's about all that I know. But there was definitely one on site at Ruby Ridge. So, hey, everybody, we're back.
We're back.
For part two.
Part two.
Of Ruby Ridge.
Part two of Ruby Ridge.
So, where we left off, things had kind of gotten a little hairy. We have killed a child.
Shot him in the back.
Yeah. Let's be very clear here. When we say killed a child, the only way this would be worse is if somebody just held him underwater until the bubble stopped. Right? Like there's not there's not a whole lot more egregious than shooting a child in the back as he runs away.
As he runs away from you in fear.
He's no longer a threat.
Right.
What were his last words there, Bill?
I'm coming, Daddy.
Shut up.
I'm gonna put I'm gonna have that put on your tombstone. I'm sorry.
God. His last words were, "You son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
You killed my dog. Yeah, you shot my dog." Yeah, so shy of doing something just even more horrific than that, there's not a lot more egregious ways that you can take the life of a 14-year-old. This kid was an innocent, one of the few in the story that is an innocent.
Yeah.
And he was there with, if we remember, he was there with Kevin Harris, who was 23 years old. They had gone down the trail to see what the dog was barking at. And then chaos ensued. There was a firefight. They shot Sammy Weaver, 14 years old. He got shot in the elbow, and then he turned to run. He got shot in the back. Everything goes to hell. They run to a payphone. They call for backup. The U.S. Marshal is dead. W.F. Deegan, Billy Deegan is dead. And Deputy Marshal Dave Hunt makes the phone call, says that they're pinned down, which they weren't at all.
Correct.
There was no pinning down of any U.S. Marshals whatsoever. And that's whenever we kind of left you guys last time, the next bureaucratic shift, because it moves to the FBI, who knows very little, if anything, about what's going on with the Weavers on Ruby Ridge. And so they bring in the HRT, which is the Hostage Rescue Team. We said in the last episode, that's basically Super SWAT.
Yeah, FBI Super SWAT.
Yeah, this is like the other SWATs look up to these guys as being the biggest and baddest SWAT team that there is.
And they are told they're coming into an active firefight.
Yeah, they're told they're coming into an active firefight, which was actually not the case at all. The only skirmish, like the only firefight happened, it was quick. It was between Kevin Harris. Again, we're not entirely sure, but it appears from Harris's story that Sammy Weaver didn't even discharge a firearm. He didn't shoot. He didn't do anything. Kevin Harris is who shot the U.S. Marshal, Deegan. And then they bring in the HRT, which was a 10-sniper team of some of the best snipers that the world has ever seen. These guys can shoot a dime from 1,000 yards. They're the best. They are great. I want to really emphasize how good these snipers are. I don't want to ever these snipers are the best. They make elite.
Sorry, would you say that if they were to shoot something, they would be aware that they shot it?
Oh, and how? Yes.
Yeah.
These guys, they are oftentimes, some of them are ex-military. They'll be special forces, like ex-Green Berets, ex-Navy SEALs, different Marine Corps snipers. These guys are some of the best, most elite with a firearm as far as marksmanship is concerned on the planet Earth.
Correct.
You guys will understand in a second why I'm emphasizing this to such a degree.
It is important, though. Yes.
So they come in, they bring them in, they get them in overnight. This is after day one where we left you guys last time. They come in overnight with a 10-sniper team of hostage rescuers. While they were on the plane being flown in, they write up new rules of engagement for the first time in FBI history, which is completely illegal. But they do that overnight, saying that any adult male that's armed can be shot on sight. They don't have to give a surrender warning because they think it's already been given, which it has not. This is like rules of war.
Exactly.
This is not what the FBI should be participating in when it comes to American citizens.
Exactly. Use deadly force.
Yeah, use deadly force without announcing yourself.
Right.
Because that's already we've already announced ourselves, which no, you haven't. And so just for the last recap here.
But they called it. They said we called it.
We called it.
We called all time announce ourselves.
Dude, it's infuriating. So just as a last recap before we get to the next day, this is day one. The shift has gone from the courts to the cops to the ATF to the U.S. Marshals to the FBI to the HRT. And what's next? A tank?
I think so.
Well, I believe that the next escalation is a tank or similar to a tank. It's a APC. It's an armored personnel carrier. So that brings us to where we're picking up in this episode, which is day two. Day two of the siege, the 11-day siege at Ruby Ridge. The day is Saturday, August the 22nd, 1992. And that morning it starts to rain. They've blocked off the bridge at the base of it's like the road that goes up to Ruby Ridge where the Weaver's cabin is. There's a small bridge, and they block that off. And on the other side of that is a meadow, and they set up a base camp. They've got Hummers. They've got the FBI. They've got HRT. It's letting everybody who's local know that something is wrong.
Oh, yeah. It had to be such a scene there because you have to think how quiet it is otherwise.
Yeah, the APC doesn't help either. I mean, these are the kind of people that don't like to be intimidated. That's part of the reason that a lot of these people moved to a very rural part of northern Idaho. They have distrust in the government. They have distrust in the system, quote unquote, the man.
Yeah.
And you start rolling APCs and Hummers and whatnot into their small town of Naples, Idaho. By the way, we're in Naples, Idaho, 30 miles south of the Canadian border. These people are not okay with that. So protests begin to break out down there where they actually blocked off the road at the bridge. There's news outlets beginning to gather. This goes national very quickly. This is all at the bottom of the mountain.
Yeah, the protesters that showed up didn't necessarily help in some ways. And as far as I saw a video of the protesters and they're screaming at the FBI, you're a disgrace to the white race. And, whenever the Klan shows up in your defense, it's not a good look. I wouldn't say it's a good look. What do you think, Justin?
To quote our last fearless leader, there's good people on both sides, Bill. Okay. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like if you're involved in something like this, be it right or wrong, like if what you did is an accusation that you actually didn't do
right
what they're saying,
right.
Or say you did.
Right.
Say you did hold a bag of puppies underwater till the bubble stopped. I don't know. But whenever the Aryan Nation and white supremacists decide to show up
in your defense,
it makes it questionable as to what allegiances that you have.
Right.
Because I know you and you know me.
Right.
If I did some sketchy shit and I wound up holed up here in the studio, I can think of some people that would show up and protest.
Yes.
I can't imagine that any of them would be Aryan Nation or white supremacists.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone with a pointy hood on would show up and be like, that Justin,
he's a good one.
He's okay by me.
He's a good one.
I don't see that happening. So like the base camp at the bottom of the hill is starting to look like something out of like a war movie, like the television show MASH. That's really what it looks like if you look at the aerial shots and the snipers get deployed into the woods, into the ridge.
Yeah, the government's they're showing their strength here, right? I mean, for what?
Over one guy.
One guy with
a failure to appear.
Yeah.
I hate to ever. I'd almost said that I would never say this on the show. But I think to have like full transparency, I will, just because of the topic we're covering. I've had a failure to appear warrant. I've had multiple failure to appear warrants. They call them FTAs. It's a bench warrant because you don't show up to court for the scheduled court date. And the judge can issue a bench warrant or a failure to appear. I have had one of those. Nobody set up a Vietnam style like base camp
right.
anywhere near my home.
Right.
Instead, they just took my driver's license away and I drove anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't have to insert my driver's license anywhere in the vehicle for me to be able to start it and drive.
Sure.
So I was still able to just drive.
Yeah.
But this seems like a bit much. So they deploy snipers into the woods and on the ridge higher up around Ruby Ridge. Again, Ruby Ridge is just that. It's a ridge in the Rocky Mountains, but there are mountains that are a little taller than it around that ridge. So they set up on those mountains, and the FBI, who the HRT works for, where the snipers come from, they decide to approach the cabin to try to talk.
They just want to talk. Yeah.
Mind you, this is day 2. It just want to see what's up.
Let's talk it out. Let's talk it out now.
I picture a guy in flip-flops walking up to the door and being like, "Hey,
bro,
what's shaking, bacon?"
He does that knocks like that, like it's somebody cool at the door.
Yeah. It doesn't do the cop knock.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, not yeah.
He's like surf cop, where like flips his hair over his shoulder.
Surf cop.
Yeah, surf cop.
This fall on ABC.
Starring, yeah, okay. So Randy, Sarah, and Kevin, again, just to make sure we're all recapped, Randy Weaver's the dad, Sarah Weaver is the 16-year-old daughter, and Kevin Weaver is the 23-year-old friend of the family. They leave the cabin because they hear the dogs bark again. To me, that's a little bit of a foolish move.
Yeah.
Because the last time that we heard the dogs bark and we chased them, the dog died and our kid died.
Yeah, it didn't go well last time, so...
Yeah, I mean, they hear the dogs bark. I mean, well, they, the ones they haven't shot yet.
Right, right. They still had some dogs left
They hear those dogs bark. But they expected somebody to come up.
Right.
They expected something was going to happen. Like, this is not going to be a non-event. Like, what happened yesterday is not going to be a non-event. So they go out of the cabin, Randy, Sarah, and Kevin, and they don't see anybody. There's nobody out there. So Randy, while he's out, decides he's going to go to the shed where the 14-year-old son, Sammy, has been wrapped up and placed. The birthing shed.
The period shed.
Bloodshed.
The bloodshed.
So he reaches up to unlatch the door. The latch was kind of high up. He reaches up to unlatch the door and is shot in the shoulder by a sniper. He says that he all of a sudden felt like a burning sensation, and he felt,
a little bit of a sting.
Ooh, I got a stinger.
Yeah.
got a stinger. And the sniper is about 200 yards away. He's an HRT sniper for the FBI. Vicky, his wife, hears the gunshot, and she runs to the door of the cabin. The door's open, so she runs to the front door from the inside. She runs to the open door to look out to see what the hell's going on. As the three of them, Sarah, Randy, and Kevin, who are outside, Randy having just been shot, run back to the door to get inside, the sniper takes a second shot.
Yeah.
Anybody who thought this was going to be fun, you might want to go ahead and just turn off the show.
Trigger warning at this point. This might be tough for some of you folks to hear.
They've already shot Randy once.
Yeah.
And they're trying to shoot him again.
Yeah.
But instead, they miss. Bill, who was it that missed?
It was a highly trained sniper that can hit a dime from about 300 yards away, as we've already established.
Yeah.
Yeah. A dude that doesn't miss.
He missed.
He missed.
He missed. He missed. And when he missed...
He didn't know he missed.
No. He doesn't. No. Ooh, that gets into some stuff. Yeah. He misses. And instead of hitting Randy... this is tough for me as a parent. He hits Vicky Weaver in the face while she's holding their 10-month-old Elishaba, and she falls to the floor in the doorway, dropping their 10-month-old. And Randy scoops up Elishaba, the 10-month-old, and hands the child to 10-year-old Rachel. And that's when he realizes that Kevin Harris was hit as well. The bullet that hit Vicky had exited the back of her head and went through Kevin's shoulder, and then it lodged itself in his chest about an inch from his heart.
This is a serious wound that, if left untreated, will be fatal.
But yeah, you're going to die to death.
Yeah, all the way to death.
All the way. So the sniper was named Lon. I always get this. This one's always tough. It's Lon Horiuchi. Lon Horiuchi is the sniper. He was the FBI sniper who was hiding about 200 yards from the cabin at Ruby Ridge. He says that he opened fire when he believed that Weaver, get this, and Kevin Harris were preparing, not even doing it, we're preparing to shoot at an FBI helicopter with a shotgun.
How do you shoot down a helicopter with a shotgun?
You are an elite trained individual. Even with your sniper rifle, you'd have to shoot like the pilot, I guess. I don't know. This isn't some Grand Theft Auto stuff. I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
And if you hear it from Randy Weaver's side, he was going to check on Sammy's body in the bloodshed.
Right.
And when he does, he swaps the shotgun from his right hand to his left hand so he can reach up and unlatch the door. And they interpreted that in some way as if he was trying to shoot at an FBI helicopter. And they also definitely throw Kevin Harris under the bus because they think that both of them are trying to shoot the helicopter.
Right.
Nah.
Right.
That's not even. That's just dumb.
It's almost like you're just kind of making some shit up to try to justify what you did.
Bill.
I mean,
come on. Bill. This is the United States government we're talking about here.
Yeah. I mean,
and they only tell you the truth.
And this Horiuchi fellow, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but he's got quite a resume that goes on later, which we may get to a little later, but beyond Ruby Ridge, like
he's been involved in some other stuff as well.
This wasn't his only hurrah. Yeah.
This wasn't his only Horiuchi.
He really Horiuchi'd that, bro.
That was a cheap dig. I'm sorry. So Sarah Weaver, the 16-year-old, after watching her mother get shot, she doesn't really know what's going on. She said she felt something hit her in the face herself. And it turns out it was parts of her mother's head.
Yeah, bro. She heard the shot. She heard the sound. She felt something hit her. And in that moment of shock, didn't know exactly what it was for a second. And then realized that's mom. That's
failure to appear.
Yeah.
Over an entrapment charge that you yourself put in place. You did this.
And again, it was still 1/4 of 1 inch of a shotgun barrel. It's all very,
you guys have really screwed the pooch, man.
It's been escalated a little bit beyond, slightly beyond what it should have been.
And this is exactly what they thought the government was going to do anyways.
It proved them right.
That's exactly it. They absolutely proved to them that this is what we're capable of and will do if we just don't like the way that you're living. And it's not even, you don't like the way I'm living. You put me in a situation.
Right.
And then punished me for it.
Right.
That's like putting a kid in a room full of rocks and putting a piece of cake in the very center of the room on a table. And you're like, hey, you can play with any of these rocks you want to, homie. Like all of the rocks are free game, like open range. Let's go. Do not touch that cake. And then you leave a 4-year-old alone and the kid touches the cake. And then you come in and you beat the brakes out of him and you kill his dog and you kill his 14-year-old son.
Yeah.
I know he's only 4, but you kill his 14-year-old son and his little 4-year-old wife.
Yeah.
That's all that's exactly what happened.
That's a very good analogy, actually, as dark as it is. I mean, yeah.
So Sarah Weaver said that she felt hunted, which I can understand why. This is day 2. They're just picking you off now.
Well, yeah,
you feel hunted.
You are being hunted. Yeah, but that's why you feel that way.
Yes, and the agents that first like bullhorned at the cabin, they were just threatening them to like push their house down and tear up all their stuff.
Right.
That was their reaction. That's what the FBI's reaction to this was. And that sniper the elite one, straight up said that he knew he hit something, but he said he didn't know what he hit. So you're telling me from 1,000 yards you can hit a dime, but from 200 yards you can squeeze off. When they ended up having to pull Vicky Weaver's body back into the cabin. She had a dress on, Little House on the Prairie kind of style dress. You're telling me that from 200 yards with a sniper scope, you see two men in pants.
Yeah.
Who seem to be walking. They're walking. And then there's somebody who's not walking who seems to like have not all of their head anymore, being drug into the door so they can close the door because they feel like they're being hunted. But you as an elite sniper don't know who you hit.
So he
call him BS.
Yeah, I mean, he had to have thought, man, I've screwed up, and I'm just not gonna say anything about it right now.
Oh, yes.
Maybe the cabin will burn down. The evidence will be like.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, solid.
Yeah, there has to be a reason that he didn't tell. I mean, you feel like you would tell your boss or whoever. Like what happened.
You would think that would be policy. You're supposed to.
And everybody would know what's happened, which will come into play here very soon. But
they don't.
But they don't.
Which leads us to day 3. It is now Sunday, August the 23rd, 1992.
Sunday fun day.
So they brought in front end loaders like bobcats,
right?
Excavators, whatever, etc., to build a new bridge.
So the old bridge wasn't cutting it because they needed larger equipment to come in.
Yeah, they needed larger armaments and vehicles. And so they did. They built a new bridge.
Yeah, there's a guy and some children up there.
Whatever shall we do?
We need more tanks.
Now it's really looking like a full-on military base down in the meadow by the road, leading up the mountain to the cabin. And there were multiple people who were... Now, the protest is getting larger and larger. Every day it gets a little bit bigger, and there's people at the bottom. And if you watch some of the interviews, you watch some of the documentaries, this one lady is screaming, all of this for one guy, his buddy, and his kids?
Yeah.
All of this for one guy.
Yeah.
But they claim they have no idea that anybody is dead.
Yeah. I mean, and the lady makes a solid point. I mean,
given the guy who killed Sammy Weaver is also dead.
Right.
So he's not telling much of a story. They just know that they've killed a U.S. Marshal. Now, the sniper, I don't really feel like he gets to get off that easily. I don't think that he gets to... You definitely know what you did. So while in the cabin, the federal officers attempted to get Weaver and Harris to surrender by saying to let Vicky and the kids go. Because they don't know that, quote unquote, they don't know that Vicky's already dead.
Well, yeah, they were appealing.
I'm sure that the people actually doing the bullhorning, they probably didn't.
They probably did not know, yeah. But they were trying to appeal directly to Vicky.
Yeah, because she was kind of the boss.
Right.
And so that's what they thought, that if we appeal to Vicky, she's the matriarch that's kind of running the show. Maybe we can get her to listen to us. Well, Randy Weaver thought that they were just taunting him after killing his dog, his 14-year-old, and his wife by saying, because they were saying things like, Vicky, send out the kids. We're having pancakes this morning.
How messed up is that, dude? Like
and of course he's livid, and it did not help.
Yeah. Vicky, come out and have some pancakes. Come on, bring the kids out. Like,
it's not funny. I'm
no,
not even,
I mean, but
the laugh is because it's just dumbfounding.
It's just so, yeah, it's so insane. And if you're in Randy Weaver's position, you're like, man, these guys are just rubbing it in at this point.
I would say it's a comedy of errors, but it's just errors.
Yeah.
There's not much comedy to it. And like, this obviously did not help. There was one, other than the kids and the dog, good group of people involved in this. There's only one group that you can say that was a government agency that you can actually say, okay,
respect.
I can kind of get I can get behind you. Denver, Colorado sends a SWAT team. And they get there and they are briefed about the new rules of engagement, saying that any adult male that is armed, shot on the spot. And they said no. No. Something about this doesn't pass the smell test. Not okay with this. And they were the only team of people out of everybody involved, all the different agencies, that actually refused to follow the new rules of engagement and to speak out against it. They were the only ones.
And good job. I mean, props to it's the leader, whoever was leading that SWAT team.
I can only imagine hearing that. So wait, what are we here for? It's a barricade. Got up there, it's barricaded out.
Okay. Got it.
We're SWAT.
Got it. And there's how many hundreds of people do they have? Yeah, they've got.
Yeah, it clearly looks like a scene out of,
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of, are we at hundreds or are we at thousands?
Yeah. How many tanks do they have? That's what I need to know.
No, it's, well, let's just start out. I mean, there's 4 kids. Okay, that seems like a weird way to lead off.
Okay. Are these like Rambo kids? Like,
are they all trained in the martial arts?
Yeah. Are we talking like brown belts here, or like?
There's also a lady.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Our most arch nemesis, the lady, the middle-aged housewife who homeschools her children. Well, there's also 2 dudes.
Okay.
Are they trained snipers? No. They're not trained snipers. Okay, but I mean, but one of them was a contractor in the United States Army. Well, that's all I need to know. They must be an absolute threat. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, what are we doing?
Yeah, guys.
Is anybody here?
Has anybody thought to chill? Just
have we tried talking to them? Y'all didn't kill any of them yet, did you?
What are they doing up there? Are they murdering, actively murdering babies right now? We got to stop them, right? Because it's something very important. We're all here to stop them from doing something.
Oh, they're not. They are literally trying to stay away from us.
Oh.
Well, there's only one thing we can do. We have to go hunt them down and kill them. That's the only option. They still don't know that they've killed anybody, they say.
Bullshit. Sorry. I had something caught in my throat.
I got a weird scratch in my throat, too.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. So they bring in, this is day 3, they bring in a robot. I love that in 1992, to me, it seems like that we did not have this technology. We talked about solar-powered, motion-activated cameras that they were using to surveil these people in the last episode in part 1.
Yeah.
They bring in a robot with a portable phone, and they put it on the porch. And they're trying to communicate.
I would love to see what this robot with the Zach Morris phone looks like.
I looked at it. I looked it up. The phone is kind of Zach Morris-y.
Yeah.
Morrissey. But it's a really sad phone. Because Morrissey.
Okay. Now I get it.
It's fine. But they had to clear a path to the house so they could have a clear line of vision on the cabin. And they used the APC, the Armored Personnel Carrier, essentially a tank.
An army tank kind of thing, yeah.
And they just started knocking down structures on the property around the cabin. They thought that they were going to just knock the house down. They said they were going to. They threatened to do that. So when they started hearing things outside just crashing and crumbling, they assumed that, well, anytime now, they're going to come and destroy our house. And what's funny, not funny, haha. They stopped short of the birthing shed. Just before they got to knock that down, they stopped short. And an officer comes out and for some reason opens the shed. They didn't check the other sheds before they knocked them down, but they checked this one. It obviously was a nicer looking structure, so maybe that's why. And when the officer opens the shed, they discover 14-year-old Samuel Weaver's body that has been there for 2 days. Now, the guy that shot him is dead. And so this is the first time that they realize that they've killed a child. And that day, they don't actually tell the media or the public for the rest of the day. This is later on in day 3, so they don't tell anybody. They wait till the following morning.
And somebody had to have, at least on the SWAT team or in the FBI, had to be like, why didn't we just knock that shed down?
You know what the first word out of the man's mouth who opened the door was? When he opened the door and saw it, the first word out of his mouth was fact.
Fact me.
Fact us. What did we do here?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
We've killed a child.
Yeah, put yourself in the shoes of the kids that are still alive there. You're hanging out in a cabin with your mother's corpse.
She's laying in the kitchen.
Laying in the kitchen for days.
Part of her head's not there.
There's blood on the walls. There are men outside.
You've wiped some of her body and brains and blood off of your face.
Yes. There are tanks rolling around, knocking down buildings on the property. You don't know if they're going to come knock your house down. They've already killed 2 members of your family.
Hey, can we talk about this?
Yeah. You're a teenager, man. Like, this is scarring.
16, 10.
Yeah.
The two that are the older that are left alive right now are 16-year-old Sarah, 10-year-old Rachel, and a 10-month-old.
And the baby, yeah.
And the baby.
And
yeah.
unfortunately, the baby's so young that the baby won't remember, but the other kids, man, like, that's got to be...
Bro, you can't find anything about this child.
Yeah.
You can look and look and look online. I spent so much time. You cannot find anything about Elishaba.
I would change my name. You'd want to get away from that, right?
It's probably like Tommy Thomerson or something now. Like, it's definitely not Elishaba Weaver.
Yeah. I mean, Sarah, as we will find out, she didn't distance herself from it very much.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
So they don't tell anybody about it that night. They wait till the following morning, which is now the morning of day 4. We are now on Monday, August the 24th of 1992. And that's when it's released to the media and to the public that Sam Weaver is dead. And the protesters lost their collective minds.
Yeah, you get the baby killer, the absolute rage in that moment. And the way that the FBI, the guy that was doing the announcement, tried to kind of bury the lead a little bit, but he tried to make you could see on his face, he's like, man, I'm about to say this. And
you can see it right before the words leave his mouth.
Yeah.
There's not any way to come back from this.
No.
It's horrible. On this day, on day 4, I mean, the agents and everybody in charge are kind of at a loss for what to do. Obviously, the optics are horrible. Day 4, they really didn't do much of anything. Nothing happened on day 4 really to speak of other than, hey, we're going to drop some horrible, horrible stuff.
That bombshell.
Yep. And that was day 4. Day 4 is us just being like, hey, by the way, we killed a kid.
And up until this point, it was, as far as the public knew, it was, there's some whack job white supremacist on Ruby Ridge that's shooting at cops and, all this, the narrative was very much, look at this crazy guy.
This is the day that it changes.
And this is the first time that people see, they shot a kid.
Do you think that if they had released the information first that they had shot, because we haven't released this yet, that they had shot Vicky Weaver, the mother, the wife, do you think that if that had been released first and then later on, Sammy, that public outcry and outrage would have been different because she's an adult? Even though she's still a woman, do you think it would have been different? Just because she's old enough to have like an idea. She knows what's going, like she, again, as like the matriarch of the family who clearly has radicalized Randy in some ways and is indoctrinating the children.
That's a good question, man. Yeah, I think it could have been spun by the media and the authorities to make it look like, they took out one of the dangers.
Yeah, like paint her out to be like a Black Widow or
when
whatever.
When it's a 14-year-old boy, yeah, exactly. But when it's a 14-year-old boy, I mean, the optics are what they are, man. Like, it's a kid. And I don't know if they said that they shot him in the back at that point, but they still knew.
No,
yeah.
they did. They have not. They did not release any of that information yet.
Yeah.
So that's all that happens on day 4. Can we just take a second and ask what the actual hell is going on? Like, let's just.
And public opinion is starting to turn at this point.
Yes. So that leads us to day 5. Day 5 is Tuesday, August 25th, 1992. They decide that they're actually going to investigate the crime scene where the original shooting between Sam and Kevin, when they were shooting at the U.S. Marshal down at the Y at the logging trail. They decide to actually go and investigate. So cool.
Yeah.
Good on you. Like, that's you probably should do that. And this is when they realized that the whole, quote, pinned down narrative was absolute garbage.
Yeah.
No one was pinned down.
Which is a very big reason that the reaction was what it was, is they thought they were pinned down. And
Yeah.
because they were told they were pinned down. You got to call in the FBI. You got to call in.
The investigators even said that if a U.S. Marshal had been pinned down for that long, just one, let alone what they said was 3 pinned down, if even one U.S. Marshal outfitted with an M16 and full camouflage had been pinned down for as long as it was said that they were, or that long as they said that he or they were, there would have been a ton more shots fired. After actually inspecting and investigating the scene, there were almost no spent casings found. And just like a handful of fresh bullet holes in the trees around the area. They ran the very CSI. They ran the yarn, like the string.
Oh, nice.
From
Nice.
every angle. Yeah, they found the holes in the trees. They put one there and they brought it back to where they found Officer Billy Deegan's body, so where he would have been. And they showed it, and it was like a dozen rounds fired in total,
Right.
by everybody involved.
Everybody. Yeah.
It should have been hundreds and hundreds, almost 1,000 rounds. If somebody's pinned down a U.S. Marshal who's trained in this stuff,
Right.
yeah, it wasn't. So
it didn't add up.
no, it didn't add up at all. And after that, it's stupid it took that. But after that, on day 5, they finally call off the special rules of engagement.
Good.
You know why?
No, why?
Because you killed a kid.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing. Yeah.
You irresponsible assholes. You killed a kid.
Yeah.
And you realize, like, oh, shoot. These rules of engagement, even before we put them in place, already didn't work.
So this is where they pack up everything. They all go home. And they leave the Weavers alone, and everything's good from here on out, right?
Yeah. That's why it's a short episode. The second episode's short because they're like, you know what? We killed your kid. We feel really
Crummy about it.
bad about that. They take the robot, and it comes back with an edible arrangement.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And they sit it on the porch and say, hey, look,
Our bad.
our deepest sympathies and condolences. They had a card. I don't have a transition.
Yeah.
I'm just like exploding because that's
not what happened. Yeah, that's not what
God,
happened.
wouldn't that
No.
be great? It's not what happened. So then day 6, the morning of day 6 breaks. We are now on Wednesday, August the 26th, 1992. This is the day that they have a funeral for Officer W.F. Billy Deegan in Massachusetts, the officer who was killed by Kevin Harris. Notice how I say that he killed him. Notice that I say that Deegan murdered
Right.
Sammy Weaver. There's a difference.
Little difference.
So meanwhile, they're having the funeral in Massachusetts for Officer Deegan. Randy and Kevin, this is 6 days in. They dictate. Was it dictated but not read?
Yeah.
Every time someone says they dictated a letter, that's what I think. But they tell Sarah to write down their thoughts and words on paper in case they don't make it off the mountain.
That's real heavy, man.
That's heavy.
16-year-old.
You're a 16-year-old writing down your dad's last words in the off chance that this doesn't pan out.
Yeah, you should be worried about getting your driver's license. And
I mean, given
yeah.
she's totally fine now. She has no residual mental scar. She is just fine. She actually is a horse girl. She became a horse girl.
Oh, nice.
And which is fun. She actually did become a horse girl, but nothing against horse girls.
Yeah. We love horse girls.
Now, meanwhile, back down at the roadblock on day 6, the protest is getting wild. Now they've turned it into a 24-hour around-the-clock protest/vigil. Because, again, why not both?
Yeah.
We're already here.
Yeah.
But it was a weird scene because they straight up are like grilling, throwing some dogs out
Selling.
with glizzies. They're just slinging glizzies and
Selling heady burritos, 1 for $3, 2 for $5.
Yeah,
Got
just
t-shirts.
like cracking cold ones.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like passing around. You know that people were drinking.
It's like a widespread panic parking lot, but
for a dead kid.
yeah, exactly.
It's the same. It's the same. And that's day 6. Nothing really happens on day 6. They bury Deegan. Kevin and Randy write a letter via the 16-year-old daughter saying, yo. Well, and the thing is, just to touch on that letter for a second, the reason they wanted, they were being hunted, so they wanted to make sure that their side of the story was told. And the off chance that something goes to hell here and they kill both of us, I'm Randy Weaver. I've already been shot. There's Kevin Harris. He's already been shot. The bullet's still inside of him. Our 14-year-old's in the shed over there, and my wife is dead on the floor. The only 3 people who have yet to be shot is a 16-year-old girl, a 10-year-old girl, and a 10-year-old or a 10-month-old baby. So they thought it might be prudent to write down like their side of it and the off chance that they don't make it. And that's how you become a horse girl. Day 7 introduces a gentleman.
Yeah, this dude.
It is a fascinating man. This is Thursday, August the 27th, 1992.
This is a big day.
It is. Oh, this is like a turning point. A fork stuck in the road. Like time grabs you by the wrist.
It directs you where to go.
And this man directed them where to go. Let's meet Bo Greitz.
Bo Greitz.
Bo Greitz. James Golden Bo Greitz.
Because
his name is James Gordon Greitz.
I hear it. Bo Greitz.
I think the Bo part is the only part that's said in an American accent. It's like James Golden Bo Greitz. He was born January the 18th of 1939. He is an American, former United States Army Special Forces officer. He was a colonel.
Hardcore dude, man.
Yeah. And he was also a presidential candidate this very year. Sort of. I mean, he was, but
he had no chance of winning.
Ross Perot had more of a chance than Bo Greitz had. Yeah.
Right.
After serving in the Vietnam War and retiring from the military, Bo Greitz worked on attempted prisoner of war, like POW rescues in conjunction with the Vietnam War POW MIA. Greitz ran for United States president, like I said, under the Populist Party, because we all know how many of those presidents we've had.
Oh, yeah, tons.
Yeah, in 92, which is the year that we're in right now, under the slogan, I hope this sounds familiar to so many of you. I got to say it in the right accent. God, guns, grats.
Congrats.
Yep. He published an isolationist political manifesto. Those words all together are terrifying.
Yeah. The word manifesto, you never hear like, oh, this guy's had a really good, positive manifesto.
As a songwriter, I've never, like, if I put out like the songwriter's manifesto, it makes it immediately sound more nefarious.
It sounds sinister, right?
But then you add those other two words and it just makes it worse. Like, it just keeps getting worse. The isolationist political manifesto. And it was titled, this goofy mother factor. It's called The Bill of Greitz.
The Bill of Greitz.
Bill of Greitz. He lived in Sandy Valley, Nevada, and has 4 children. He is considered to be a right-wing icon. Now, you might be asking yourself why we're taking the opportunity to talk about James Golden Bo Greitz. Bo Greitz made a big show of placing a citizen's arrest on the governor of Idaho. He shows up where the protest is happening. Who here's Agent Glenn from the FBI? And like makes a big theatrical, show of it. Then he tries to place Agent Glenn from the FBI, who's the head FBI agent in charge, as well as the governor of Idaho and a few other people, because he said he wanted to see action Things aren't happening.
And he's got a big grits, guns, and grits button and like
a big. I did not think that's where you were going with that.
What? He's got a big old grits, right? Grats.
Huge. It's huge.
This is self-promotion, dude. You got to give him credit. Like, he sees an opportunity and he jumped.
You're telling me that a man that hates the blacks is holed up in the woods?
I can't stand by this.
I know my audience.
What's your take on this guy? I mean, do you think he's... I feel like he's the closest thing to a good guy we have in the story.
As far as like the government officials and whatnot, I think that he's probably the best guy. Now, it was very masturbatory. It was very self-gratifying for him to come and do this. He had an agenda and an angle, but I'll be damned if this like Mr. Magoo looking ass man like actually showed up. He looks like if like Barney Fife and Major Pyle met. I don't know. This guy actually shows up and gets some stuff done. I don't have a problem with him. Now, if he had bumbled it and it had just gotten worse,
right?
Yeah, I would be clowning on him even more. But I mean, my take on him is he actually did something.
Oh, he helped for sure. I mean, the only thing that makes me question him is the fact that he was admired by the white supremacists and all those type of guys, but. I mean, maybe.
Hold on.
Maybe they love Tom Hanks too.
No.
That doesn't mean
Bill.
Tom Hanks is a bad guy, right? I mean,
Bill, a guy who wrote a book called The Bill of Rights, an isolationist political manifesto.
Right.
Was a inspiration to white supremacists. I don't know about all that, man.
Okay.
I think we're going to need to do a little more research.
So for the purposes of this story, he's as close to a good guy as we have.
He's the best.
Not necessarily a good guy.
Like this is the good guy? That sucks.
Yeah.
But he shows up completely unannounced. No one asked him to be there. It's very self-gratifying. And he was running for president, which also, again, self-gratifying. But you kind of got to give it to the guy. His plan was not a bad plan.
Right.
As opposed to everybody else's plan, which is just...
Was nothing?
Shoot him. It was somewhere between nothing and kill them.
Because, I mean, over the last few days, there really hasn't... As far as the FBI goes, they haven't done anything. They found the body of the kid, and they just been sitting there while...
We're on day 7. Nothing's really happened in... like 4 days.
They've just thrown the Frisbee around out in the lot. And
they said that guys were like taking walks and jogs, doing push-ups, literally throwing Frisbees, taking showers. They said that it looked like a summer camp in the military base at the bottom of the hill in the meadow. That's what they said it looked like.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
these guys are just a bunch of schlups too, right? Like they're just a bunch of like army guys in the early 90s. They're like, at least I'm not in Desert Storm. Like, at least I'm not in, the Gulf War right now. Like, at least I'm hanging out here. And I know those dates are a little sketch, but I'm just using that as an example. So nobody message me. You know what I'm saying? But it's somebody that Randy kind of trusts. He at least knows who this guy is. And whenever he approached the house that day, he was not decked out in military and tactical gear like everybody else had been. You got a robot with a phone. You've been knocking over my shed and all of my other things with a armored personnel carrier. This guy who I actually know, who has some celebrity about him, especially in the neo right-wing world. Yeah, this guy comes up just in... If you watch the video of it, the guy, he looks like John Daly. He looks like U.S. military John Daly.
I feel like current John Daly actually could help in this situation as well. I don't know why.
He just shows up with an Arnold Palmer or something, and he's like, "Hey, man, is there any way we can talk about this?
Let's go hit some balls."
By the way, sorry about your kid.
Oh, it's tough to make jokes in this one, man.
This one's tough. The last one was... I'm reaching. It's hard to make jokes about this. So he goes up there, and the military didn't know really what to do. The FBI and they didn't really...
Clearly.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Damn, it's obvious. They had no idea what they were doing. You're just steady shooting kids and women. So they didn't really feel like they had anything to lose, really. So why not? nothing we're doing is working. So they sent him up there the next day. He did not go up on day 7. They wait till day 8, which is Friday, August the 28th, 1992. And now enter Bo Greitz.
Bo Greitz.
Coming up the mountain on an APC. Again, looks like a tank. And he gets up to the top and he was like, I can't talk from the APC. So he jumps off himself of his own accord and he walks towards the cabin.
Ballsy move.
It is. And it's funny if you watch the interaction, or to hear Bo Greitz tell it is also hilarious because he wants to make himself out to be this cowboy, this like grandiose figure or whatever. But he says he walks up to the cab and he goes, Weaver, it's Bo Greitz. Because of course he would just know who that was. But apparently he did.
The Bo Greitz.
Whichin? The Weaver. It's the Bo Greitz.
Is it the Bo Greitz? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Ohio State.
Guns, gods, great.
Still not letting that go. You guys are stupid for saying that. Don't ever say that. You guys, we make fun of you in the SEC for saying the Ohio State. Just saying, if you have to put the in the front of it.
And if you email, just be sure that you put the Ohio State in the subject so Justin doesn't have to read it.
I'll just delete it immediately.
Just delete it.
No, I'll send it on to the rest of the staff, and I'll make the staff read it. That way you don't. I'm not going to participate in that. They only send me the good ones. So he's like, Weaver, this is Bo Greitz. And he knew who he was, and he kind of stuck his head up by the window. Randy Weaver did. Mm-hmm. They talk back and forth for a few minutes. And it's the first time that anybody's actually had any real conversation with Randy. And again, this is day 8. No one's actually spoken with anybody. He wouldn't pick up the phone, the mobile phone. I say mobile. They refer to it as a portable phone because it's 1992.
Right.
And so he hadn't used the phone. He has never opened the door. They're just held up inside this place. And he proceeds to tell him about Vicky being dead in the kitchen and about Kevin being shot through the arm and into the chest by the bullet that went through Vicky's head.
So one thing, just to dial the clock back just a minute, a quick fact on this one. Paul Harvey came on the radio and appealed directly to Randy Weaver to pick up the phone over the radio, over the airwaves.
Because they knew that he listened to...
Because he listened to Paul Harvey.
The rest of the story.
The rest of the story,
yeah.
Those were great, by the way. Those were awesome.
I loved those. I grew up listening to Paul Harvey.
Yeah, they're awesome. But, they couldn't get through to him. So, yeah, they found...
But they did actually hear it. That's what's crazy. They did hear the Paul Harvey... not interview, but they heard Paul Harvey asking and hoping that they would pick up the phone, and they didn't. Yeah, they still didn't. Yeah, that's a good point to make. So
was it a good idea or a bad idea, Justin, that he didn't go out and grab that phone?
It was a great idea.
Good idea there, Randy.
It was a great idea.
He's not an idiot.
You know how he didn't trust the government? After
murdering his wife and child?
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, it was a great idea to not pick up that phone. Like, it really was. When Bo Greitz gets up there and talks to him and he tells him about Vicky and Kevin, he really accomplished more in like 15 minutes of conversation than they had in the last 8 days. Mind you, this is day 8, and he accomplished more than they had in the last 8 days. Like, it is kind of fascinating or weird when you're not being shot at or threatened to knock your house down that you tend to be more responsive.
Yeah.
Weird. So they come back down. Bo Greitz comes back down from Ruby Ridge, from the cabin, and that's when they make the announcement that Vicky Weaver is dead and has been for 6 days. Now, that went over really well at the protest at the bottom of the hill.
They were
stoked. Everybody was like, heck yeah, you're just steady killing people.
Dope.
Again, they cool. They begin to lose their collective minds all over again. And then the sun goes down and the protests just continue.
When the sun goes down.
And then day 9 begins. Day 9 is Saturday, August the 29th, the year of our Lord, 1992. Everybody felt a little more hopeful at this point because of Bo Greitz, honestly. They thought that this might be the last day of the standoff.
Yeah, there's actually a glimmer of hope and progress.
We talked, that's a good start. I mean, give it to humans to think, a little bit meant a lot. They talked. It's over. No. But Bo shows up at dawn because he wants to keep the conversation going with Randy Weaver. Again, kind of want to make fun of the guy and hate on him, but he's doing the right thing. Again, no one's asked him to be there. Randy Weaver immediately begins to tell him what really happened that morning. When Bo gets there, he just starts to dump on him all of his side of the story because he said that someone needs to know the truth. He wrote this letter. Well, he didn't write it. He dictated this letter to his daughter. But I mean, if they burned the cabin down, there's
right. Yeah, there's no guarantee that letter survives.
I mean, you can make it into a paper airplane,
and then get shot as soon as you try to throw it.
The second you throw it out the window, you're just shot in the hand.
It was a missile. He fired a missile at us.
They had an Air Force. He was throwing airplanes.
It was an F-16. I can't believe
that's
it.
really not that wild. Now, given it was made out of paper, but I'm just saying, I had to shoot him. I was good enough to shoot him in the back of the hand, but I didn't know that I shot his wife in the head.
At that point, I had no other option. Yeah, I had no other option at that point.
I had ran out of options. I felt threatened.
Yeah, I stood my ground.
My life depended on it. You're a dick. So he tells him all about Vicky and what actually happened. And basically says that I know they saw her. I know that they know. That's what Randy says to Bo Greitz. I know that they know that it was Vicky because they saw us bringing her body back inside.
Arrandy knows he's not an idiot, man.
And then he asks,
he's not an idiot,
Bo about the arm on the robot, little arm tracks on the robot that brought the phone to the porch. And he just straight up asks, he's like, Bo, homie, my guy,
bro,
is Bro Cephas.
Broham.
And Broham.
Bro Greitz.
Dude. That's good.
Be a bro
I
Greitz.
stayed up all night writing you some broetry. Couldn't help but notice you brought me a dozen broses.
I'm really enjoying this bro down, ho down with that. Jesus.
So he asks him straight up. He asked Bo Greitz. He's like, does it have a gun? The robot, does it have a gun? So Bo goes taking a walk. He walks over to it and just stands beside it on the porch and goes,
that robot got a gun?
Yep. Yeah, from the... Yeah, no, it's definitely a gun over here.
Got a gun. 12 gauge.
And it's pointed. It's got a claw on one side and a 12 gauge shotgun on the other. And if he had opened the door to get to that phone, whoever did, that's the real messed up part. Whoever did would have been shot right then.
So they were going to go, hey, bro, grab the front phone so you can talk to us. And then the moment he grabs it, just bust a cap in it.
Boom!
That was the plan.
That was the plan. So it really wasn't about the phone, huh?
What kind of Wile E. Coyote shit? Were they going to paint a big fake hole?
Dude, that's where I was going. You're just going to paint a tunnel on the side of a wall and be like, no, it's fine. You can just run towards that as fast as you can.
What about this giant box that the FBI delivered on my front yard that says Acme on the side of it? Should I check this out? It seems pretty trustworthy.
But I love that he asks Bo Greitz, and Bo's like,
yeah.
Oh, no, there's definitely a gun here. But you got to know that in Randy's mind, he's like, I knew it.
Of course.
I knew it. Which is, again, proving his point. So Bo asks a close, trusted family friend that evening of day 9 named Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown.
Love her name. If she would like to go up to the cabin.
Do you think she was frowned upon being in a woman with the last name of Brown around all these white supremacists?
I hope so. Otherwise, there's a lot of inconsistencies in their stories and their belief system.
Yeah.
I would like to believe that.
I like you despite your name.
In spite of your name. I think you are just fine.
Yeah.
I've been friends with some grays, and they're okay. Yeah. Now, the whites
The whites
fine.
are my favorite, obviously. But
See, I'm a white.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, yeah. The blacks are right out.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Oh, it's horrible. So they asked Jackie Brown if she wants to go up to the cabin, and she says, "Yeah." I mean, she was at the cabin like 2 days before the standoff and the siege happened. She was friends with them, and she was the first person in the cabin so far in the 9 days of the standoff. She was the first allowed in. Again, she was at their house 2 days before the standoff started. And she walked in and was like, "What a lovely home. It looks just like it was whenever I left."
I don't remember the silhouette of Sarah painted in blood on the wall over there, but it's a nice touch.
Well, Vicky looks tired.
Jeez.
Dude, I'm trying.
I know, man.
It's hard. It's hard to make anything funny about this. Take a load off, Vicky. So she sees Vicky laying dead in the kitchen with guts and things. And she asks the FBI agents and some of the marshals and all the other government agents up there if she could help clean up. And they don't let her clean up the first day. Instead, Kevin and Randy Weaver give her the note that they had dictated but not read.
Okay.
By Sarah Weaver. And they ask for a list of supplies. They are fully anticipating this not being over anytime soon. We are holding out in this cabin.
We need some Game Boy cartridges. We need some Go-Gurt.
I need some half shirts.
I need to squeeze it.
Didn't want to cut off my own shirts. But I do want to still look fashionable. It's 1992.
Yeah.
But I still want to be fashionable, so I just want to make sure that I
I need
have my cutoffs.
I need a new fanny pack.
And if it is not multicolored, like if it is a solid color,
if it's not neon,
I'm throwing it at the murder robot.
Some windbreakers. The wind has been not broken for a few days up here.
We're on a ridge. How am I supposed to endure this wind? You've knocked down all of the actual structures around the house that actually stopped the wind. So it's breezy,
it's
bro.
Breezy.
It's breezy up here on Ruby Ridge.
The wind never stood a chance in the 90s, dude.
Not for a second. So they give the note to Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown.
She takes that and a list of supplies back down the mountain. Day 9 is in the books. Now we're on day 10.
Day 9, again.
Nothing's happened, really.
Children in the house with their dead mother inside the house with them. Guns everywhere.
And everybody else, all the other adults are bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's not
Kevin
forget the
is
fact that, like,
hurting.
Oh, Kevin's not well.
Yeah.
He is actively in the process of dying.
He's looking like the guy in the zombie movie that got bit but didn't tell anybody.
Solid. Yes, that's exactly
And
like.
he's like, no, I'm fine.
Did you see the pictures? Did you see the pictures of what that wound looked like?
I did not. I need to Google this, though. Yeah?
It's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. It's black.
Did it look like a dish that Maggiano would have cooked?
Yeah, right. Dude, it is. It looks like a dish that Maggiano burnt, left in the oven too long.
I left
Dude,
it into the oven too long.
Black and like festered up. Oh, it's rough. It's rough looking. And the thing is, it goes in his arm below his shoulder and then comes out the inside of his arm and then goes into his chest.
Oh, yeah.
So he gets 3 holes for the price of 1. Like, he just straight up just ran through. Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, that bullet did work, man.
Oh, it's really, really, really bad. Yeah, if you get a chance to look it up, it's awful.
Yeah, I'm going to. As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna have to check that out.
There's no reason not to. Again, enjoy that one on your own time. Day 10 begins. This is Sunday, August the 30th, 1992. So Bo comes back to the cabin intent on only one thing. We're getting Kevin Harris out.
Because bro is not doing
As
well.
we were just saying, he is not faring well. We're getting him out. It's been 10 days since he was shot.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and the wounds are pretty badly infected. He's about to die. Remember, there is no running water. There is no electricity. They cut their water supply off as well, what little water they had up there. It wasn't running water, but they had their own not well water, but collecting rainwater set up, and they had cut all that off. I'm sure they just ran over that with an APC, like you're wont to do.
It's a good way to make that happen.
Yeah, with children inside.
Yeah.
But you got kids in here. They don't need water.
No.
Yeah, they're assholes.
Yeah.
So
brutal. Brutal.
they said, or Bo Gright said, if you let that boy die in there, I'll testify to the jury and see to it that you fry.
I mean, I love where your head's at, Bo, but I don't know how that would work out for you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that that's going to do exactly what you think it's going to. But nevertheless, at 1:47 p.m. on day 10, August the 30th of 1992, Kevin Harris leaves the cabin. They actually let Kevin go. I don't really think that it's a matter of like Kevin finally is released from the cabin. I don't really think it's that way. I think Kevin's scared to be in the damn cabin. He's scared to be out of the cabin. Everything is scary.
I mean, who knows what his level of consciousness is at this point, even.
Like, he's dying.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably just barely hanging on at this point.
They treated him at the field, like medical tent at the crazy military compound they've built at the bottom of the mountain.
Right.
So they had
MASH.
basically a full on, like it looked like Matt. I mean, like Grey's Anatomy was already being filmed down there. I don't know. So then they flew him to a hospital in Spokane. Do you call it Spokane or Spokane?
I'm a Spokane man.
I'm a Spokane man myself.
Yeah.
So Jackie Brown, she returns with the supplies that they had requested. And she and Bo have to take care of the late Vicky Weaver's body. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. They put her body in a body bag. And the thing is, Randy Weaver helps to kind of center it in the bag. He was very adamant that everything be centered, everything's just right. It was the love of his life. I mean, she was pretty crazy, and he was too. But he did love his wife. And as they were carrying it out, Bo Gright said that he had not seen, in all the times he had spent in wartime, seeing loss, seeing death, he had never seen people grieve quite like that. He said that the kids, Rachel and Sarah and Randy, were just falling apart, just wailing. They were so upset. And Randy kept saying, just please don't let her body touch the ground.
Yeah,
So he carried the body out.
Yeah, from one of the accounts though, it was a bit more like, if you let the body touch the ground, I will shoot you. Like, you got your hands full, I'll kill you.
Yeah, it checks out.
So I they say chivalry is dead.
It checks out. It's just like trying to find levity here in some
Anywhere
way.
you can. Yeah.
So Jackie cleans the blood up in the kitchen and destroyed a ton of evidence.
And
But the FBI was cool with that. They're like, oh yeah, you want some stuff to clean
it up? Cool.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
cool. Yeah, here's some paper towel. What do you need more?
We got trash bags. We got trash bags over here. We've got Windex. We got all the Windex you need.
Yeah, she asked. They let her do it again, of course. So that evening, the HRT is starting to get restless. They're known to kill.
They're there to shoot something. They ain't got to shoot nothing.
I ain't shot anything in days. This is killing me to not kill you. Yeah, so they gave an ultimatum for noon the next day to Bo Gright. They said, they either come out or we take them out. These are the options. And that means Bo Gright has to sit on that overnight.
There's definitely a double meaning in that. Come out or we take you out. They're not saying like we're going to go to the movies and
come out or I will treat you to a nice seafood dinner.
They're like, oh my God, Red Lobster.
I love the Bay Biscuits.
Oh, good.
Cheddar Bay.
Cheddar.
Yeah, no. So day 11 rolls around and Bo Gright has a lot on his head. See, this is the point that I fact around and find out, right?
Yeah.
Bo, you effed around and got yourself involved in this.
Yeah.
And now you get to find out how this works.
Yeah.
Now you have super SWAT in your ear saying, hey man, if you don't get these people out, like you're the one who they're talking to, it's on you now.
And your political stunt. I mean, you got to think the motivation for this guy was more about getting his name out there and becoming a hero. He
didn't give a damn about Randy Weaver or
single damn, not one damn. No.
Behold the garden where I grow my dams.
For it is bare.
Take note that the harvest is barren. Yeah, like this dude doesn't give a shit about these people. It's all about him. Again, it's masturbatory. So day 11, the morning of Monday, August the 31st, 1992, Bo returns to the cabin again. When he gets there, there's a marked difference in the tone of Randy. He says, we've prayed all night, the girls and I, and we've decided that they're going to have to kill us, just like they did our mother, wife, brother. Going to have to kill us. That's what we've talked about it. We've all talked about it. I do not honestly believe that the girls, a 10-year-old, a 16-year-old,
right,
were like, hey, it's a great idea. We should die.
Yeah. But Daddy, will we go to white heaven? I love that reaction I just got from you.
I sure hope there's tater salad in white heaven.
All the U2 you can listen to.
Unlimited honey mustard. Soup, salad, and breadsticks.
The rivers run with Thousand Island.
White heaven. When you're here, you're not black. That's a callback from the last episode.
Every restaurant is an Olive Garden in White Heaven. Love it. There's a lot to this White Heaven.
No, every restaurant in White Heaven is Waffle House. So you have like the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
in White Heaven, all of them are combination Cracker Barrel Waffle Houses.
I like it.
All of them, which I would actually patronize an establishment that was both. If the Waffle House still had the smoking section, so like the smoking section is clearly the Waffle House side, and then you walk across the other side, and you got folks in like the brown aprons with their stars on them, so you know exactly what their worth is, because how else would I know?
Right.
You've only got 2 stars, but Aaron over there has 4, and he's got the purple. What is he in a gold star purple frock? Now yours is brown, and you've only got 2 stars. What are you, a peasant?
But then there's also the offshoot of it, which would be White Girl Heaven, which is like Target, yoga pants,
and horses,
Starbucks.
Yeah. Where they? But the thing is, they only mispronounce your name. That's the whole. Like they never get it right. It's heaven isn't perfect. Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
That's true.
It is. So Bo goes back to the cabin. The girls and Randy, I'm going to put the girls in quotations. Randy says, you got to kill us like you did Sammy and Vicky. I think the girls are probably behind him like, shh, Dad.
Hey, bro, no.
You're leaning a little heavy on the kill us part. Like the 10-year-old Rachel's like, I'm still like pretty excited about learning cursive.
You're facing down. You're legit facing down death as a 10-year-old girl. Like, yeah, that's heavy, man. Yeah. Oh no, she's very fine now. You should watch the interviews with her. She's super cool. Balanced is the word I comes to mind. Yeah, it's very level. No residual trauma at all. No. Just also has an affinity for horses. Interesting. The horses must be like not like calming. Sarah. I don't know. Not like Sarah though. But yeah, no. She's super cool. She definitely turned out just absolutely fine. Wonderful. You should watch the interview where she's standing on the remnants of the base of where the cabin was before they tore it down. When she's standing there with her father, just sobbing like a child. Yeah. Brings you right back. Here's the thing. Yeah. Here's the thing. Sarah would be older than us. Rachel, the 10-year-old at the time, she's our age. Yeah, dude. She's our age. Yeah. So just think back to where you were at 10 years old and think about. Yeah, for those of you doing the math there, we are both almost 40. Yeah. We're staring down the barrel of 40. That'd be like if you're in that movie, like The Most Dangerous Game or whatever, but you're 10. Yeah. Yeah, it was Ice-T or Ice Cube or whatever. Yeah. No, it's not okay. Don't know how accurate it is that the girls are actually like super enthusiastic about the idea of we should also die. Yeah. Right. But it does make Bo's story sound like more over the top and grandiose because Bo told them, if you don't come out, you'll get just that. Guns, God, and grandiosity. So Randy Weaver apparently made the decision right then and there. Kind of a knee-jerk decision is what it seems like. He just turned and said, girls, get your things. We're going down right now.
And Randy, with his wounded shoulder, he had been shot through 9 days ago.
Yeah.
Holding baby Elishaba along with Sarah and Rachel at his side, they finally left the cabin after 11 days.
And he had to be thinking there's still a chance that we're going to die when we walk out of this
They're
cabin
going to shoot us.
And either way, it's over. You know, I think...
At least it's done.
He had to think there was a very real chance. Yeah. It's... I may die right now, but...
Right.
There's this is it.
Right.
He had that thought, that moment, and yeah, let's go for it.
Randy was flown by helicopter to get medical attention, and then flown by private jet to Boise, Idaho, where he was taken to jail. And fun fact, that was the first time that Randy had ever flown, which I find weird because he was in the military.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did he get to any of the? He was in Vietnam. Did he go by boat?
He swam. That's how hardcore he was.
I took a boat to Vietnam. Now, when I got there, it was over.
Yeah. They lost his luggage on that flight. Yeah.
Yeah. He never flew until he got out of the cabin where he was being hunted for 11 days, where all of his family was killed. Then he flew to jail.
Well, I mean, he still got to fly.
Shut up. I mean, he still got to fly. It was free. He flew. He got to fly for free.
Yeah, yeah.
So the trial starts, and both Randy Weaver and Kevin Harris were charged with both murder and conspiracy.
So how do you charge Randy Weaver with murder?
He never shot anybody.
Yeah, except for that maybe the sky at one point.
He shot up in the air once.
He shot at Jesus up on a cloud.
He shouldn't have done that.
I don't know how you bring that charge.
Well, I don't know how you kill a man's entire family one by
either.
one over a failure to appear, but I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
There's a few head scratchers here. We can chalk it up to that. Yeah.
Yeah, so they charged Randy and Kevin with murder and conspiracy. Kevin Harris had a 3-month trial and was found not guilty on all charges and was released.
Kevin Harris, the guy that we pretty much know killed Officer...
No, he straight up killed Billy Deegan.
Billy Deegan.
He killed Billy Deegan. Yeah, it wasn't Sammy.
And was found not guilty still.
Well, dead man can't talk.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just an interesting... No, yeah.
I don't know who killed him. If I was Kevin Harris, I would say Sammy shot him.
Yeah, prove me otherwise.
And then he shot Sammy.
Otherwise. Yeah.
Prove it. You guys sent a murder robot to the front door of my house. You prove that I was the one who was doing something wrong. Randy was found not guilty on all charges as well, except for the original failure to appear. Which kills me. Y'all stuck him with that still?
Yeah.
And he had to say, after all of this, y'all are like, yeah, but you did borrow that. You did borrow my weed eater. And you didn't bring it back. I'm gonna need that weed eater back. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. So
mission accomplished. There was a huge banner that fell down behind.
Yeah,
him.
he served 6 months in jail for that. It was the longest jury deliberation in Idaho history at the time.
What do you think the previous longest jury deliberation? What was the trial for that before? Potato versus...
It was a tater thief. It was someone who was just steady thieving taters.
Can't be thieving them taters.
He was the best tater thief. And all
he wasn't that great. He got caught. I mean...
Well, it's because somebody came in and asked him to saw off some shotguns to infiltrate the tater burglar and outfit that they had going on at the time. Man, it's so hard to make funny jokes.
Yeah, no, it's
in the second half of this. The first half was so much easier.
Agreed. And the good thing is you can edit out every bad joke we've tried and swung and missed at. So this might be a 15-minute episode, but
by the end of it, you're like, that was actually a quick one. When asked, Randy Weaver said, "If I would have known, I wouldn't have sold him those guns," which I think is kind of a duh, obviously.
Yeah.
But he said, "But everything else, I would do again." Which that's a tough one for me, but yeah. So in 1994, the Weaver family decided to file a civil suit against the United States government, and the U.S. government settled with them for $3.1 million. If you settle, it's the same as like Harvey Weinstein or like any of these other people, like they were accused of molestation or any of that. If you settle, you obviously it's an admission of guilt.
Yeah.
So the government admitted that they definitely mucked this one up.
$3.1 million in 1992 or 94, I guess, when that came out. That's a good chunk of change. Still not enough.
Yeah, I guess that's what their lives are valued at.
I don't know how you come up with a number on that, but it's still not enough.
Well, and the fact that the FBI actually admitted to covering up facts during the court case, that kills me.
And how many heads rolled from that? Like,
yeah, just not none.
Just not zero. Just zero.
Thank you for proving Randy Weaver right the whole time. Like, that's all that you did. You proved Randy Weaver right. Also, those like stupid temporary rules of engagement that happened, they were considered and ruled unconstitutional. Who would have thought it was unconstitutional to do that?
I mean, there's some positive. That's positive, though. I mean,
it does set up a precedent for things going forward.
You're showing that we don't want this to happen again. And again, it never happened again. Waco never happened.
Where are they now?
You guys don't even know what I'm talking about when I say Waco. Yeah, yeah.
So Sarah still does some speaking engagements. The 16-year-old at the time, she's an activist when it comes to how police handle situations. She's very religious and a horse person as well. But I don't think she's really an extremist. Not like her mom and her dad were.
Yeah, she seems like she's grown up and started to see other sides of the story and how she was raised. I mean, as people are wont to do very often.
She says that since they used the case of Ruby Ridge as a lesson on what not to do in these situations, that makes it worth it. I think that she's full of shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just gotta put that out. Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
People
we all make
from
mistakes.
It. Yeah. BS. Rachel, who again is our age, is pretty messed up. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Yeah. She's pretty messed up. Yeah. I don't want to make light of her
trauma.
Situation. Yeah, I just no. It's horrible. Now the three kids, they did support Randy Weaver, their father, throughout the trial. They've always kind of stuck by him. Like I said, I couldn't find much on Elishaba, but she'd be about 31 years old right now. Vicky Weaver's parents are still pissed, and I would say justifiably so. I mean,
agreed.
Your daughter was crazy, but that doesn't mean that she deserved to die.
Yeah.
You know, so her parents, Jean and Dave Jordanson, said that they never blamed their son-in-law, white separatist Randy Weaver, for their daughter's death during the standoff at Ruby Ridge, but they do want someone to be held accountable. And they don't think that a Senate report that a few years ago was released really gives them that. They said, quote, "You sometimes think that if somebody had admitted that they'd made a mistake, it would not have snowballed like it did." And I think that makes all the sense in the world. That was Vicky's mom said that.
It's a very poignant statement to make, actually, that all it took was somebody to admit at any point.
Just at some point.
We facked up.
Bad.
Facted
Bad.
up. Yeah. And it could have de-escalated. And
so quickly.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I see what's going on up there. We're willing to drop this. It doesn't need to get to this point. Or we could just put multiple U.S. Marshals in the woods around your house with surveillance for hundreds of hours.
And once you get to the point where it's gotten so big,
you can't.
The media is there. You can't back down at that point. You're past the point of no return. And
no, it's too far gone. So the report concluded from the Senate. The Senate report concluded that the shot by sniper Lon Horiuchi that had killed Vicky and the one that went ahead and lodged itself in Kevin Harris was unconstitutional.
So murder is unconstitutional?
Yeah, they said that murder is unconstitutional.
Okay, I learned
pretty cool.
I learned something today.
Every day we get further from the eyes of God. but it never addressed whether he would be prosecuted. It went on later to another court, and no charges have ever been filed in Vicky or Sammy Weaver's deaths.
Yeah.
So that just went without any sort of repercussions at all.
Yeah, and again, Lon Horiuchi was present at Waco. He was a sniper there. He went on to continue to rack up kills. So rather than being punished, I think you might even say they rewarded his actions.
Yeah. It would appear as such.
Yeah. You did a good job at killing in Ruby Ridge, so let's go ahead and send you to Waco. And
Waco turned out pretty good, though, right?
yeah, let's go. Let's go for Ruby Ridge Part 2, but this one's going to be way bigger.
Ruby Ridge Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. So Randy Weaver then moved back to Iowa, and he lived in Grand Junction with his daughters. His daughter, Sarah, and he, in 1998, published a book called The Federal Siege at Ruby Ridge. And in 2003, he partnered with Richard Mack, an extremist leader of the constitutional sheriff movement.
Okay.
Which sounds bad.
It sounds bad.
To write Vicky, Sam, and America, How the Government Killed All Three. You got to give it to him. That's not a bad title.
It's a solid title.
Yeah, it's pointed. That's for sure. Then Sarah went on to write Ruby Ridge to Freedom in 2012. Randy Weaver died May 11th of this year, 2022. He was 74 years fun.
I hope he went to Mexican heaven.
To what?
Mexican heaven. I hope he went to Mexican heaven.
I thought you said margarita heaven.
No. I hope
he went to margarita heaven. Can I go to margarita heaven? Is that in Cabo?
Love to go to margarita heaven. I feel like I need about 4 margaritas after this episode, man. It was heavy.
I can definitely say that I enjoyed recording the first part of this series more than the second.
Yeah, agreed, man.
The second part was a lot less fun. I don't feel happy right now.
Yeah, it
I
weighs
feel
on
very
you, right?
drained.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and just doesn't leave you with that happy-go-lucky feeling at all.
But a fascinating story, nonetheless. I mean,
it is. It shows how government overreach and just a damn phone call can solve a lot of problems. Just a phone call.
Yeah. And not a phone call when you've got a gun robot with a Zach Morris phone.
Murder robot is not the phone call that we're looking for. Oh my gosh. Like this is one of those stories. It's infuriating. Nothing good came of this. And the thing is, he's still a bigot. Like, all said and done, he's still a bigot. And that, okay, but again, if you want to be a bigot on a mountain away from everybody else, that's where I'm happiest with you being a racist. On a mountain, away from everybody. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a white guy surrounded by only white people talking about how you hate people that aren't white, I feel like that's the best place for you to be because there's no one around you to do anything bad to.
Yeah, talk to the potatoes. Build your.
Well, taters are brown.
Well, the inside's white. They're white on the inside.
Where it counts. Jesus Christ. We're going to get so much shit for this episode because I made a point at the last episode, and I'll say it on this one here towards the end. We are joking.
Oh, 100%.
We are
so
making
joking.
fun of people who think those things.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Wow. I couldn't possibly not believe more in like social justice and equality and such. Like, no, we're both very much
we're not fan of white supremacists and mocking them.
Isn't it weird that the first episode, second episode, but the first 2-parter you were ever on as a co-host, you had to say that at the end of the episode. Is like you had to give the caveat of, and by the way, we are not white supremacists.
Yeah. Well, next episode we do together, maybe we can do like brooms. Or,
next episode we're going to do the building of the Chinese Railroad. And golly. Well, I appreciate you being on the episode with me, Bill. I really do. That's a heavy one.
Justin, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Like I said right off the top on the first episode, I believe in what you're doing, man. This is a cool show, and I've enjoyed every episode. Keep it going, man.
There will be many more to come, and there will be more heavy ones just like this one. I can guarantee it. But I would rather have you by my side for it than most anybody else, because you're at least good at kind of finding at least a little levity, a little bit of fun in the content. It's hard. Some of these are hard. Well, you guys stay tuned. After the show, I will be there again to let you know what we have coming up, and the next episodes we have coming are pretty cool. I'm excited about those as well. We do appreciate sincerely from the bottom of our hearts you sticking with us through what was a very interesting and difficult two-parter. But
absolutely,
I'll be back at the end of the show to tell you guys more about what's coming up. Thanks again, Bill.
No problem. Thank you, Justin.
Man, oh man, was that a heavy episode. Ruby Ridge. Hope that you learned a little bit of something about it that you might not have known. A couple facts here and there. A lot of you have already heard of Ruby Ridge. You were alive when it happened. For some of us who are around my age, we were about 10. There are some of you who were not alive at all, and this might have been the first time you heard about Ruby Ridge. And you can see that this type of government overreach has been going on for quite a while. I would like to say it's getting better. I can't say that with a clean conscience, that it's getting better. Hopefully, you did learn something, though. Next week, we're going to come back with something a little lighter for you before we get into our next deep dive into a more heavy-hitting episode in 2 weeks. Make sure that you are following us on all the social medias. I will do better. I promise. You have my promise. I will do better about posting on the socials what we have going on and what we have coming up. If you are listening right now on any of your podcast apps, make sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and a review if it's available on that platform. It helps us out so very much. Thank you again, and thank you to Bill. You'll be hearing a lot more from Bill. We have a couple of big announcements coming up soon. I will talk to you guys next week. Until then, be nice to each other, please, and have a good rest of your day.